grow up with the NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Hello. This is just going to be a quick TurdOrTreasure episode, as we were going to wait till next week to release one, but with our scheduling, we are actually going to be recording the main Twig show one day later on the day it releases, just to accommodate some stuff that we've all got sort of going on the go right now. So we're going to have this episode drop same day of recording, and I've got 3 reviews in here. Birdman's working on a few that'll probably be on the next main show as well as the next TurdOrTreasure episode. So for this week, we've got my review of Disgaea 6, Defiance of Destiny on the Nintendo Switch, AKIBA'S Trip, Hellbound and Debriefed on the PS4, as well as in between the brand new Anker Nano II 30-watt GAN charger. Now, GAN technology, I'll go into it in the review itself, but it's the exciting new hotness when it comes to basically silicon replacement and heat dissipation. So, may as well get into the review. So without further ado, we'll get into these, and I'll be back at the end to just sort of talk about what's been going on and what we've recorded and what we have coming up, and sort of the juggling we're going to be doing over the next few weeks when it comes to programming.
Basically, he was a geek, sir.
Leave me alone, geek boy.
Holy shit, you geeks are badass.
Our friends at XSeed sent over the new AKIBA'S Trip remake called AKIBA'S Trip Hellbound and Debriefed. Now, I was introduced to this franchise when AKIBA'S Trip Undead and Undressed came out, which was actually the second game in the series on PS3 and then shortly after PS4. And I was sort of completely new to this type of game where you're beating up enemies to take their clothes off, and it's like borderline it's like an otaku heaven game, but borderline it's like, this is kind of strange. Was probably the best way to describe it at the time. And then I know that I believe I played AKIBA'S Beat, which was the third game in the series, but I had never actually played the original title, which came out on the PSP, because I always sort of, my history of the PSP is that I had it for a little bit, that I didn't have the system, and then I only really played PSP games when I got my Vita, and I was starting to build up my my catalog that way digitally. But I never did get around to playing the original AKIBA'S Trip. So this was a completely new experience to me. I am playing it on the PlayStation 4, so this is a pretty significant upgrade. Like, I'm playing it technically on PS5, but it's playing in backwards compat PS4 mode, and it's a pretty significant graphical overhaul, considering you were jumping from the PSP, which was like 272p or 240p, all the way up to 1080 here. Now, this is one of those games where your mileage will vary depending on how into Japanese like otaku culture you are, how much you know about Japan itself, because it's a recreation of one of its most popular districts, and you can see all the little details here and there, the businesses and such, and it will really flavor your experience if you are a big fan of the Japanese subculture in general. So this is a 10th anniversary edition of the game. They've done some tweaks when it comes to gameplay. It runs a little smoother. It loads super duper fast. There is dual audio on here, so you can have either fully English dubbed audio, which sounds pretty good. It's a decent dub, or the original Japanese audio. There are factions you can support, which was interesting, which can change the course of the story and ultimately how you end up with one of the several different endings. You fight the same way you did in the other Akiba Trip game, for the second game especially. It's closest to as far as the battle system goes. As far as anything here that makes it really stand out, is it a fantastic remake? It's a pretty solid experience. It's not just like they output the game at a higher resolution and bam, that's it. There's been some quality of life updates to it. Obviously, a better retranslated script. And if you're somebody who likes getting physical editions of games, if you pre-order it, you can get a version that comes with the soundtrack on 2 CDs, and then a art book, which is 60 pages of commissioned art and original illustrations from the game, which is pretty amazing. And the soundtrack, usually when you get a soundtrack sampler, or it is usually a sampler with the game, you get like 8 songs. No, this is the official soundtrack containing 47 songs across 2 different discs. So it's a pretty solid release if you're getting the physical retail. If you're getting digital, it is not a huge game to download, and it does load really quickly, and it's a very polished affair. So if you've liked the series in the past, it's a solid upgrade.
This is a fair request, and I promise I will not judge any person only as a teenager, and that this is no more right than saying all teenagers are drunken dope addicts or glue sniffers.
The new hotness when it comes to charging technology now is GAN. Which, if you don't know what it means, there is a big technical name for it. But it is a tech that replaces traditional silicon components with a much more robust heat-resistant component system. It's been out for a while, but usually it was relegated to like high-end, big, expensive industrial equipment, but only in the last couple years has it started to be shrunk down and used for consumer use. And potentially, when we have like semiconductor shortages running rampant in the world now, and silicon tech is getting harder and harder to produce in mass quantities when, again, we have shortages and such. This is a very beneficial tech to have come out. Because one of the advantages of it being much more heat absorbent and resistant is you can make much more compact, components that are tighter together, and you don't have to worry about the heat dissipation or having a product potentially blow up in your face or melt or anything. So Anker sent over a new Nano II 30-watt adapter. We covered the Nano 1, which was a great little wall charger. This is a slightly bigger, I mean slightly, ever so slightly, like a few millimeters. It feels bigger all around, but heavier, beefier boy. A little bit more weight to it. They make this Nano 2 in the 30, 45, and 65 watt sizes. Obviously, the 65 being slightly bigger, but still rather small. But the 30 is sort of like it's not an entry level. It's sort of a go-to standard in that it can charge so many different devices. Interestingly enough, it's less than half the size of similar 30-watt wall chargers because it's using that GaN technology inside of it. I put it through its paces by plugging in a few quick charge devices, and it is I think it's IQ3 quick charging. It's 4 different quick charge profiles. There's 5 volt 3 amp, which is your standard 15 watt charger for that's sort of the baseline. Like if all else fails and it has smart tech in there, it doesn't detect that your device is trying to charge at one of its 4 main profiles that charge faster, it will default to the 5 volt 3 amp, because that's sort of the standard amongst all devices, is always having a 5 volt charger. It also does 9 volt 3 amp, so 27 watts. It also does 15 by 2 amp, so that's how you get your 30 out of it. And then they also have I think it's a 20 and 1.5 amp or something to that extent to get it to the 30 as well. And it will, depending on your quick charge profile, whatever device you have, it will auto detect which one it is. And then, of course, default to the 5 if it doesn't find anything. So, like I said, it's that GaN 2 technology they're calling it. So it's much smaller size, upgraded heat dissipation, higher energy efficiency, and I used it to charge my Oculus headset when it was pretty darn low on battery, and I plugged it in to the wall with a high-powered USB-C cable, one that can handle quick charging. And, while the actual Oculus headset was getting warm from charging at quick charge, I would, put my hand and I was just grabbing around the sides after about 15 minutes or so of the actual Nano 2 charger, and it was cool to the touch. Where other devices would get warm when it's doing quick charging for that length of time, it was like not even, it was like ambient room temperature, which I was really surprised with. So this little tiny guy that's really compact, it does exactly what it says. So interestingly enough, they say universal compatibility. So they're advertising iPhone 8, Samsung S9, Note 10, iPad 2018 or later, Pixel 3 or later. These are just ones that have quick charge profiles that are directly integrated into it. You can charge a MacBook Air from 2020 on this too. So USB-C based laptops, it doesn't have like high-end power delivery on it, but you can charge a lot of laptops and Ultrabooks from this sucker, and it's thinking how small it is. If your laptop or your tablet has USB-C charging, you don't need this big wall adapter, AC adapter, or a wall wart. It's just a little tiny thing that's like barely bigger than, maybe one to 1.5 times bigger than the tiny little USB charger that you used to get with an iPod. And of course, I tried it with my Nintendo Switch, and it doesn't have a profile that's specific to the Switch for the docked mode, so you wouldn't be able to plug a USB-C cable into this instead of having the big wall charger from the Nintendo. But because it does provide that 5 volt 3 amp, you can have your Switch in portable mode, and it will charge. It's not like it's going to trickle charge. It will fully charge while you play it, which is awesome, and it will stay charged at 100% while you're using it. Super high quality, and with more and more phones and tablets, just especially this year, not coming with a wall charger, they're expecting you to have your own instead of seeking out like a really cheap, crappy one on Amazon. The 30, 45, and 65, but especially the 30, is something you're going to want to pick up for any new phone out there because the build quality is just so good on it. It really is. It feels like it's something that would be a first-party released charger that came with it, or a premium version of a charger. So if you're looking to replace a wall charger of pretty much any sort that uses USB-C, or you can always get a USB-C adapter to something else, then definitely I would go with that Anker Nano II. I'm going to keep mine in my backpack for when I travel between family, now that we've opened up again a little bit, and people are getting vaccinated and we're actually traveling. Having a small travel size wall plug is really beneficial.
Do you have any hobbies? I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Hold that thought. It's crapper time.
NISAmerica sent over the new Disgaea 6 Defiance of Destiny game for review on the Nintendo Switch, and I believe this is the first time that the game series has not had a PlayStation release counterpart, but I will say that the graphics do scale quite well to the Switch. Interestingly enough, it might be the only Switch game I know of where there is a selection mode for graphical fidelity mode or like a frame rate mode, because it's with some of the character models and some of the effects, it's pushing the Switch pretty hard because for the aging Switch hardware. If you put it into the fidelity mode, it brings the frame rate pretty much solid to a locked. I can't tell if it's 30 or 60, but it's smooth enough that it just goes through. And when you're I should say this, it doesn't change like the graphical stuff for the characters when they're talking or when they're moving around, because it's all told through like portraits. It's just basically the battle animations and such. And if you are trying to grind or do like a faster playthrough, you'll want to switch it to the frame rate mode so that it doesn't have the dips. Because when it dips low, when there's a lot of things happening on screen, it dips pretty low. I'll say that. It's pretty when you have it on fidelity mode, but you might want to keep it in, especially if you're playing it in portable mode. Like if you're playing it in handheld, switching it to the frame rate mode is actually, I would recommend it, because you're not losing as much when you're only seeing it on your 6 or 7 inch screen versus blowing it up to a big screen. So portable mode, make sure you got it on the frame rate mode, and then if you want to see it all super pretty and such when it's in dock, then go right ahead. Just know that your frame rate's going to drop a fair bit. Audio wise, you've got a pretty good release from them. You got English and Japanese language options. The text options are English and French for this particular release. It's pretty solid. It does look like a slight more budget affair than previous Disgaea games. A little more streamlined, a little more like they didn't go quite all out with a ton of animations or anything as far as like cutscenes, because this time the cutscenes are sort of told through the portraits instead of like animation or anything like that. That being said, I'm having a good time with it. I know there's been some controversy surrounding some of the gameplay styles that people are like, oh, they made it too easy. They gave you too many options. No. There's some really good accessibility options that were added to this game. Like, I'm not going to go into the story because that's half the fun here is the quirky weirdness here. I'll say this: it feels like the atmosphere and the story is a step up from the previous game. Maybe not quite the heights of the first two in the series, but those are sort of high marks, right? So as far as things that were added here, what they've added is an auto retry and replay to the battle system. So there's an auto battle option where you can sort of let it do its thing if you just want to grind and level up. And that's what some people, I think, have found some consternation over, where they like the struggle of doing everything really hard and doing it yourself. Whereas I'm somebody who, when I'm grinding, I'd rather just do the old trick on the Super Nintendo when you're playing Final Fantasy 3/6. The old trick where you're doing the waterfall raft riding thing, and you tape the controller buttons and then have it do auto, so you can go to bed and wake up and it's done a loop of battling over and over again. You've gained like 30 or 40 levels right away. That's the kind of thing I like to do, because for me it's about story, it's about certain experience, but I'm not a huge fan of grinding. So the biggest feature added here to me is the auto battling, where it just feels like they listened to the more casual Disgaea gamer like myself and said, hey, here's an option for you where it can auto battle and you can level up and you don't have to worry so much about just constantly sitting there and grinding and grinding and grinding. So they finally found a way to not worry about the grinding here. It's still a big number crunchy game, right? Where the big joke here is, the massive amounts of damage that you do and the numbers that show up on screen. But they've taken away some of the pain of just having to do the monotony of it. So I'm very, very happy here with this. There is still plenty of, crazy special attacks, and there's depth to all of the item world and just leveling up yourself and items to insane numbers. So that is all intact. They haven't changed that. They've just changed some of the accessibility mechanics to avoid grinding, and if you die, you can retry things, and so on and so forth. So it is the basic story, at least, though, I'll get into is the main character's name is Zed, and you're going on a quest to rise above his lowly status to challenge a god of destruction. And then, zany hijinks ensue. Well put together. This is one that, right now is only on the Switch. I would like to have seen how this will work maybe on a PS4, PS5. Maybe there wouldn't need to be the graphical toggle for the frame rate. But I'm very happy that it's there, because turning it on the frame rate mode versus the fidelity mode doesn't take away too much from the visual style and flair, and it does increase the overall enjoyability of the game, because you're not getting any slowdown. So I'm happy that they give you the option to switch that on or off. Overall, pretty good. If you're not a fan of the series, or previously had been a big fan, this is a decent enough entry point for you if this is going to be your first one, because it has some of those quality of life improvements with the auto battle and the retry and so forth. So maybe give this one a go. If you've been on the fence about trying Disgaea before, if you're already a fan of the series, you probably already have it. But this is... I see their attempt at going, hey, let's get some more casual players or some RPG fans that haven't really played our games before, or have felt that there's like a barrier of entry because of how much time you have to put into it. And I really applaud them for that.
Those magnificent bastards!
Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
And that is going to do it for the show. What do we have coming up? Or more importantly, what have we been doing? Well, we just, as of this recording a day or so ago, did our secret Halloween, well, not really so secret, a Halloween recording with James Rolfe, the AVGN of NISAmerica fame. Everybody, if you're a fan of ours, you pretty much know who he is. We're going back to our annual tradition of recording a Halloween episode, but because of scheduling with everybody, we had to record it obviously way ahead of time. And that discussion, I don't know if Birdman said it, but it's on a franchise that you'll probably get a kick out of. That we go into each movie in it and then sort of give our own impressions on what we would do in that specific situation. So we'll probably announce it as we get closer. We're probably actually going to be going through our archives of previous Halloween specials we've done with James, and leading up to its release in October, we'll start putting out, maybe on Sundays or something, we'll start putting out previous stuff from the vault that is no longer, or has not been on the podcast feed because it only goes back so far. So we're going to sort of make it a classic revival of some sort that way. We've also, I think Birdman recorded with the Nerd to the Third crew, and that might come out, I don't know when Dr. Gonzo is going to release it, but that will be on the site, and it will auto promote. You'll see it in your feed. We've also got Birdman working on getting a schedule together to record the Sunday Funnies episode with JT. My episode with JT is more of an evergreen episode. We're going to have to find a time to record it once things quiet down a bit and we can line up our schedules. Mine was just going to be the discussion on some of the 90s superhero and comic book adjacent TV shows. We've done some research watching some of it. It's just a matter of lining up, and it's a little more timely if Birdman is back and gets back with JT to talk about the Loki and Black Widow franchise or movies and the comics, and see what they think about that, because again, that's more topical. So they're going to try to arrange a time for that. Birdman's got some visitors. I'm going to be visiting him I believe early this coming week. We're getting back to the routine of hanging out, but also we're going to be doing some audio commentaries. I'm not sure if we're doing it that exact day, but the idea is to visit a few times over the course of the summer, bank a bunch of audio commentaries, because we tried doing one of them remotely one time, and there's some latency there. It doesn't quite work. So when we're together, I can just bring my mic, we hook it up into our mixing board, and we watch a movie and talk over it the way we always did before. And we'll get some in. We'll maybe get a Halloween one in. We'll get some holidays themed ones, maybe get a Christmas one early. The idea is, if we can bank a bunch of stuff, if we end up with a fourth wave and we shut down the province, we'll have extra stuff to talk about still. It won't be like, crap, we don't have content. So we're going to bank a few of them. I'm not sure how many, but I think the hope is, maybe just do, every time we visit, we do one. Take an hour and a half to do one and then move on. So instead of it's not like visiting is work. We can get one in. And maybe we'll do like a flip a coin, or he picks one, I pick one, he picks one, I pick one. I know the talk is we want to do some more Ernest movies at some point, and because we did Ernest Goes to Jail. I think, did we do Ernest Scared Stupid? I think we did. Maybe it's time to do Ernest Goes to Camp and some of the others. That'll be fun, because those are just silly, ridiculous fun that we can just relax and laugh at. We've been playing a bit of Call of Duty. I'm not usually the multiplayer guy, but we've got our friend Liam in the same team with us, and we're doing 3-player zombies. So we got an extra copy of Call of Duty for the Xbox for me, because I received a review code last year for the PlayStation 5. But we wanted to see how, because I'm the only one in the group that is crazy enough to have a Series X, a Series S, and a PS5. So we wanted to see how the game performed on all 3 platforms and playing together. And we'll talk a bit about how the hullabaloo and the craziness that was involved in trying to get crossplay to work with the PlayStation and the Xbox. We did get it to work, but we'll talk about that on the main show, I think. But needless to say, we got it working, and we're getting our impressions. And I'm impressed and also very disappointed in certain aspects of how the performance aspect of it works. We'll get into that, like I said, on the main show. So we've been doing a bit of that each night. One night was a lot longer than the others, as in it turned into the morning. But that can be fun, I guess. I'm not usually a big multiplayer fan, but when we're not playing with idiots online and it's just a group of us in our own instanced feed and we're going through things, that can be a lot of fun. Plug in a headset, talk with your buddies. I get it. As far as other reviews and things that are coming up, we will be watching over the course of the weekend before we do the show the G.I. Joe movies, both G.I. Joe movies on UHD 4K from Paramount, so that Birdman and I can do a joint review again this week on the main show. My other review for the main show, if I can get through the game or get suitably far enough in to get a proper impression, I will be having my Zelda Skyward Sword HD review in the show, and Birdman has something else to put in. I received a few packages in the mail just before the end of the week, so I'm going through some of the things that came in there before I review. I'll be reviewing a vacuum cleaner from the same company that sent the RoboVac, but this is like a stand-up wireless rechargeable vacuum. It's sort of like a Dyson, I guess. It's like the style of it. So that is something that's going to take a bit longer to review, because you want to review that over the course of a couple weeks of cleaning, a few sessions, right? So that'll be out probably the next following week, I'm guessing. And then we've got a review of Samurai Warriors coming. I think that'll be this coming week as well. And what else? Chris Tales, I've got to dive into that once I finish with Skyward Sword. And I'm waiting on a Oculus charging and data cable to come to review, as well as a few other small things that I think are sort of in the wind in the mail. And then we've got obviously more movies and stuff to come. We'll be doing Loose Cannon again soon, and all that fun stuff. But this coming week it's sort of a catch up and get back to normal when it comes to visitations and getting some stuff planned for the main site. So that's going to be fun. And that is pretty much it right now. I am going to cut this, edit it, throw it all together. We're going to have the episode come out for your downloads that you're listening to right now. And then we're going to have a bit of a break on the weekend. I'm going to be seeing Snake Eyes tomorrow. And that should be interesting. And I'll be waiting to see what other, fun movies I can go see in the next couple weeks are, as right now the theaters are kind of slim pickings. I don't really want to see Boss Baby. I don't really want to see the Forever Purge. I don't really want to see the Escape Room movie. I don't want to see Space Jam. I do want to see Old, but my mom wants to see that, so we're probably going to see it in a week or so when she's able to go. Pig is also playing at my local theater, but I don't really have the extra cash to see it at the more expensive theater, and I don't really want to go right now for that. But I think next week is when some stuff starts picking up with new releases again. So I'm enjoying going back to theaters, once or twice a week to get some sense of normalcy. It'll be nice when, everything's opened up more and friends can go too, and we feel all safe doing that. But in the meantime, it's a good escape, especially to go for like a Saturday matinee. So that is going to do it. I'll be back on the main show in a couple of days, and I'm sure Birdman and I are going to have something stupid to talk about.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.